We interrupt the regularly scheduled mass programming feeds. Watchmen bring this announcement to the earth. A famine of the word of Yahuwah is found on the earth. Plagues are poured out in judgment. Important words of the Creator Yahuwah have been dismissed. Without the word, people are not living abundantly. My people perish for lack of knowledge. There is a city whose builder is Yahuwah Aloha. There is healing for the nations. A light unto the Gentiles, restore all truth. Join us as we share from the word of Yahuwah.
The name of the portion is Tadalt, and it's the generations.
There we go. Thank you. And I still feel like I've just read this.
We did an extra reading last week. We ended up going in and doing some of this last week. So
Oh, thank you for
we spoke about it anyway.
thank you for bringing both of my brain cells into proximity. Thank you.
It rings a bell, sister.
Okay, Leah, sorry about that.
And this is, sorry, I'm at Bereshit, Genesis 25:19.
And if you can keep
And
the
this is
volume
the-
up a little bit, Leah.
Okay, I'll keep the phone closer.
Yeah, that'll help.
How's that better?
Yeah, it's better.
Okay. And this is the genealogy of Yitzhak, Abraham's son. Abraham brought forth Yitzhak, and Yitzhak was 40 years old when he took Ribkah as his wife, the daughter of Bethuel, the Aramean of Padam Aram, the sister of Laban, the Aramean. And Yitzhak prayed to Yahweh for his wife because she was barren. And Yahweh answered his prayer, and Ribkah, his wife, conceived. And within her the children struggled together, and she said, "If all is right, why am I this way?" So she went to ask Yahweh. And Yahweh said to her, "Two nations are in your womb, and two peoples shall be separated from your body. And one people shall be stronger than the other, and the older serve the younger." And when the days were filled for her to give birth, and see, twins were in her womb. And the first came out reddish all over like a hairy garment, so they called his name Esau. And afterward his brother came out with his hand holding onto Esau's heel, so his name was called Jacob. And Yitzhak was 60 years old when she bore them. And the boys grew up, and Esau became a man knowing how to hunt, a man of the field, while Jacob was a complete man dwelling in tents. And Yitzhak loved Esau because he ate of his wild game, and Ribkah loved Jacob. And Jacob cooked a stew, and Esau came in from the field, and he was weary. And Esau said to Jacob, "Please feed me with that same red stew, for I am weary." That is why his name is called Edom. But Jacob said, "Sell me your birthright today." And Esau said, "Look, I'm going to die, so why should I have a birthright?" Then Jacob said, "Swear to me today." And he swore to him, and he sold his birthright to Jacob. And Jacob gave Esau bread and stew of lentils, and he ate and drank and rose up and left. Thus Esau despised his birthright. And there was scarcity of food in the land.
Oh, hold up
Sorry,
one second. I got to get to the chapter real quick on the screen.
Yeah, we're moving
Are you
on.
reading out of Hallelujah Scriptures?
I am.
Just make a plug for
Okay, so we're at Bereshit 26.
Okay.
And there was a scarcity of food in the land, besides the first scarcity of food which was in the days of Abraham. And Yitzhak went to Abimelech, sovereign of the Pelishites, and in Gerar. And Yahuwah appeared to him and said, "Do not go down to Mitzrayim. Live in the land which I command you. Sojourn in this land, and I shall be with you and barak you, for I give all these lands to you and your seed. And I shall establish the oath which I swore to Abraham your father." Sorry, okay, so this is still Yitzhak. Okay. "And I shall increase your seed like the stars of the Shamayim, and I shall give all these lands to your seed, and in your seed shall all the nations of the earth be Baruch. Because Abraham obeyed my voice and guarded my charge, my commands, my laws, and my Torah." And Yitzhak dwelt in Gerar. And when the men of the place asked about his wife, he said, "She is my sister." for he was afraid to say, "She is my wife," lest the men of the place should kill me for Ribkah, because she is good looking. And it came to be, when he had been there a long time, that Abimelech, sovereign of the Pelishites, looked through a window, and he watched, and he saw Yitzhak playing with Ribkah, his wife. So Abimelech called Yitzhak and said, "See, truly she is your wife. So how could you say she is my sister?" And Yitzhak said to him, "Because I said, lest I die on account of her." And Abimelech said, "What is this you have done to us? One of the people had almost lain with your wife, and you would have brought guilt on us." And Abimelech commanded all his people, saying, "He who touches this man or his wife shall certainly be put to death." And Yitzhak sowed in the land and reaped in the same year 100-fold, and Yahuwah barak him. And the man grew great and went forward until he became very great. And he came to have possessions of flocks and possessions of herds and a great body of servants. And the Pelishites envied him. And the Pelishites had stopped up all the wells which his father's servants had dug in the days of Abraham his father, and filled them with dirt. And Abimelech said to Yitzhak, "Go away from us, for you are much mightier than we." So Yitzhak went from there and pitched his tent in the Wadi Gerar and dwelt there. And Yitzhak dug again the wells of water which they had dug in the days of Abraham his father, for the Pelishites had stopped them up after the death of Abraham. And he called them by the names which his father had called them. But when Yitzhak's servants dug in the wadi and found a well of running water there, the herdsmen of Gerar strove with Yitzhak's herdsmen, saying, "The water is ours." And he called the name of the well Isaac, because they strove with him. And they dug another well, and they strove over that one too. And he called its name Sitnah. And he moved from there and dug another well, and they did not strive over it. And he called its name Rehoboth, and said, "For now Yahuwah has made room for us, and we shall bear fruit in the land." And from there he went up to Beersheba. And Yahuwah appeared to him in the same night and said, "I am the Elohim of your father Abraham. Do not fear, for I am with you, and shall barak you and increase your seed for my servant Abraham's sake." And he built an altar there and called on the name of Yahuwah, and he pitched his tent there, and the servants of Yitzhak dug a well there. And Abimelech came to him from Gerar with Ahuzath, one of his friends, and Pichol, the commander of his army. And Yitzhak said to them, "Why have you come to me, seeing you have hated me and have sent me away from you?" But they said, "We have clearly seen that Yahuwah is with you." And we said, "Please, let there be an oath between us, between you and us, and let us make a covenant with you, that you do no evil to us, as we have not touched you, and as we have done only good toward you, and have sent you away in peace. You are now Baruch by Yahuwah." And he made them a feast, and they ate and they drank. And they rose early in the morning and swore an oath one with another. And Yitzhak let them go, and they departed from him in peace. And on the same day it came to be that the servants of Yitzhak came and informed him about the well which they had dug, and said to him, "We have found water." So he called it Sheba. Therefore the name of the city is Beersheba to this day. And when Esau was 40 years old, he took as wives Yehudith, the daughter of Beeri, the Hittite, and Basemath, the daughter of Elon, the Hittite. And they were a bitterness in the spirit of Yitzhak and Ribkah.
Okay.
Chapter 27. And it
Let's
came
get
to
over
be
there.
when Yitzhak was, oh, sorry, I'll let you catch up.
All right. I think we're
So
told.
the parents did not, sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying the parents were upset because they didn't want them marrying outside of the
Yeah.
blood, the blood. It came to be when Yitzhak was old and his eyes were too dim to see, that he called Esau, his elder son, and said to him, my son? And he answered him, Here I am. And he said, See now, I am old, and I do not know the day of my death. Now then, please take your weapons, your quiver, and your bow, and go out to the field and hunt wild game for me, and make me a tasty dish such as I love, and bring it to me to eat, in order that my being may barak you before I die. And Ribkah heard when Yitzhak spoke to Esau his son, and Esau went to the field to hunt wild game and bring it. And Ribkah spoke to Jacob her son, saying, See, I heard your father speak to Esau your brother, saying, Bring me wild game and make me a tasty dish to eat, and barak you in the presence of Yahuwah before my death. And now, my son, listen to my voice according to what I command you. Please go to the flock and bring me 2 choice young goats, and I'll make a tasty dish for them, for your father, such as he loves. And you shall take it to your father, and he shall eat it, so that he might barak you before his death. And Jacob said to Ribkah his mother, See, Esau my brother is a hairy man, and I am smooth-skinned. What if my father touches me? Then I shall be like a deceiver in his eyes, and shall bring a curse on myself, and not a barakah. But his mother said to him, Let your curse be on me, my son. Only obey my voice and go. Get them for me. And he went and he fetched them and brought them to his mother, and his mother made a tasty dish such as his father loved. And Ribkah took the best garments of her elder son Esau, which were with her in the house, and put them on Jacob, her younger son. And she put the skins of the young goats on his hands and on the smooth part of his neck. He must have been one hairy guy.
Mm.
And she put the skins of the young goats on his hands and the smooth part of his neck. Then she gave the tasty dish and the bread which she had prepared into the hand of her son Jacob. And he went to his father and said, My father. And he said, Here I am. Who are you, my son? And Jacob said to his father, I am Esau, your firstborn. I have done as you have said to me. Please rise, sit, and eat of my wild game, so that your being might barak me. Page change. But Yitzhak said to his son, How is it that you have found it so quickly, my son? And he said, Because Yahuwah your Elohim brought it to me. Then Yitzhak said to Jacob, Please come near that I feel you, my son, whether you truly are my son Esau or not. And Jacob went near, and Yitzhak his father, and he felt him, and he said, The voice is the voice of Jacob, but the hands are the hands of Esau. And he did not recognize him, for his hands were hairy like his brother Esau's hands. And he barak him. And he said, Are you truly my son Esau? And he said, I am. And he said, Bring it near to me, and let me eat of my son's wild game, so that my being might barak you. So he brought it near to him, and he ate, and he brought him wine, and he drank. And his father Yitzhak said to him, Please come near and kiss me, my son. And he came near and kissed him, and he smelled the smell of his garments, and barak him, and he said, See, the smell of my son is like the smell of a field which Yahuwah has barak. And Elohim give you of the dew of the Shamayim, of the fatness of the earth, and plenty of grain and wine. Let peoples serve you, and nations bow down to you. Be master over your brothers, and let your mother's sons bow down to you. Cursed be those cursing you, and Baruch be those barakah you. And it came to be, as soon as Yitzhak had finished barakah Jacob, and Jacob had hardly left the presence of Yitzhak his father, that Esau his brother came in from his hunting. And he too had made a tasty dish, and brought it to his father, and said to his father, Let my father rise and eat of his son's wild game, so that your being might barak me. And his father Yitzhak said to him, Who are you? And he said, I am your son, your firstborn Esau. Then Yitzhak shuddered with exceedingly great trembling, and he said, Who was it then who hunted wild game and brought it to me? And I ate all of it before you came, and I have barak him. Even so, he is Baruch. When Esau heard the words of his father, he cried with an exceedingly great and bitter cry, and said to his father, Barak me too, oh my father. And he said, your brother came with deceit and took your Barakah. And Esau said, was his name then called Jacob? For he has caught me by the heel these 2 times. He took my birthright, and see, now he has taken my Barakah. And he said, have you not reserved a Barakah for me? Then Yitzhak answered and said to Esau, see, I have made him your master, and all his brothers I have given to him as servants, and I have sustained him with grain and wine. And what then shall I do for you, my son? And Esau said to his father, have you only one Barakah, my father? Barak me too, O father. And Esau lifted up his voice and he wept. And Yitzhak his father answered and said to him, see, your dwelling is of the fatness of the earth and of the dew of the Shamayim from above. And by your sword you are to live and serve your brother. And it shall be, when you grow restless, that you shall break his yoke from your neck. And Esau hated Jacob because of the Barakah with which his father barak him. And Esau said in his heart, the days of mourning for my father draw near. Then I am going to kill my brother Jacob. And the words of Esau, her older son, were reported to Ribkah. And she sent and called for Jacob, her younger son, and said to him, see, your brother Esau comforts himself concerning to kill you. And now, my son, listen to my voice, and rise, flee to my brother Laban in Haran, and stay with him a few days until your brother's wrath turns away, until your brother's displeasure turns away from you, and he forgets what you have done to him. And I shall send and bring you from there. Why should I be bereaved of both of you in one day? And Ribkah said to Yitzhak, I am disgusted with my life because of the daughters of Heth. If Jacob takes a wife from the daughters of Heth, like these who are the daughters of the land, what is my life to me?
I'm going to move on to the next chapter. No, you're at
28.
Yeah. Moments away. And we're going to verse 9, is it? Yes. Okay.
And Yitzhak called, okay.
Yeah.
28. And Yitzhak called Jacob and barak him and commanded him and said to him, do not take a wife from the daughters of Canaan. Arise, go to Padan Aram and the house of Bethuel, your mother's father, and take a wife for yourself from there, from the daughters of Laban, your mother's brother. And El Shaddai barak you, and make you bear fruit, and increase you, and you shall become an assembly of peoples. And give you the Barakah of Abraham to you and your seed with you, so that you inherit the land of your sojournings, which Elohim gave to Abraham. So Yitzhak sent Jacob away, and he went to Padan Aram, and to Laban, son of Bethuel, the Aramean, the brother of Ribkah, the mother of Jacob and Esau. And Esau saw that Yitzhak had barak Jacob, and sent him away to Padan Aram to take himself a wife from there. And that as he barak him, he gave him a command, saying, do not take a wife from the daughters of Canaan. And that Jacob had obeyed his father and his mother and had gone to Padan Aram. So Esau saw that the daughters of Canaan did not please his father Yitzhak. And Esau went to Ishmael and took Mahalath, the daughter of Ishmael, Abraham's son, the sister of Nebaioth, to be his wife, besides the wives that he had.
Wow. Okay, we're going to move on to Malachi 1:1 to 2:4.
Malachi.
Malachi.
Who else is up for reading?
I can read.
Okay.
Can we read?
Yeah, sure.
All right.
What are we at? We start
Right.
at 1?
Yep. 1:1.
Okay.
Okay. The message of the word of Yahuwah to Yasharel by Malachi. I have loved you, said Yahuwah, but you asked, in what way have you loved us? Was not Esau Jacob's brother? Declares Yahuwah. And I love Jacob, but I have hated Esau, and have laid waste his mountains and his inheritance for the jackals of the wilderness. If Edom says, we have been beaten down, let us return and build the ruins. Yahuwah of hosts said thus, let them build, but I tear down, and they shall be called border of wrongness, and the people against whom Yahuwah is enraged forever. And your eyes shall see, and you shall say, great is Yahuwah beyond the border of Yasharel. A son esteems his father, and a servant his master. And if I am the father, where is my esteem? And if I am a master, where is my fear? Said Yahuwah of hosts, Yahuwah Zabaoth, to you priests who despise my name. But you asked, in what way have we despised your name? You're presenting defiled food on my altar. But you asked, in what way have we defiled you? Because you say the table of Yahuwah is despicable. And when you present the blind as a slaughtering, is it not evil? And when you present the lame and sick, is it not evil? Bring it then to your governor. Would he be pleased with you? Would he accept you favorably? Said Yahuwah Zabaoth. And now entreat the face of El to show favor to us. This has been done by your hands. Would he show favor to you? Said Yahuwah Zabaoth. Who among you who would shut the door so that you would not kindle fire on my altar for naught? I have no pleasure in you, said Yahuwah Zabaoth, nor do I accept an offering from your hands. For from the rising of the sun even to its going down, my name is great among nations, and in every place incense is presented to my name, and a clean offering. For my name is great among nations, said Yahuwah Zabaoth. But you are profaning me in that you say, the table of Yahuwah is defiled, and its fruit, its food is despicable. And Yahuwah said, oh, what weariness! And you sneered at it, said Yahuwah Zabaoth. And you brought in plunder, and the lame, and the sick. Thus you have brought in the offering. Should I accept this from your hand, said Yahuwah? But cursed be the deceiver who has a male in his flock, and makes a vow, but is slaughtering to Yahuwah what is blemished. For I am a great sovereign, said Yahuwah Zabaoth, and my name is feared among nations. Okay, and then we're going to 2 verse 4. And now, O priests, this command is for you. If you do not hear, and if you do not take it to heart, to give esteem to my name, said Yahuwah Zabaoth, I shall send a curse upon you, and I shall curse your Barakot. And indeed I have cursed them, because you do not take it to heart. See, I shall rebuke your seed and scatter dung before your faces, the dung of your festivals, and you shall be taken away with it. And you shall know that I have sent this command to you, as being my covenant with Louis, said Yahuwah Zabaoth. Okay, we're going to go to Matthew. Get my paper here a little closer to read. Matthew 10, verse 21 to 38. And that would be the next book in here. (21 to 38). Shabbat Shalom, whoever came in. I'll see you in a minute. I'm going to finish reading up here.
Matthew what?
Matthew 10, verses 21 to 38.
Thank you.
And brother shall deliver up brother to death, and a father his child, and children shall rise up against parents and shall put them to death. And you shall be hated by all for my name's sake, but he who shall have endured to the end shall be saved. And when they persecute you in this city, flee to another. For truly I say to you, you shall by no means have gone through the cities of Yasharel before the son of Adam comes. A taught one is not above his teacher, nor a servant above his master. It is enough for the taught one to become like his teacher, and a servant like his master. If they have called the master of the house Beelzebub, how much more those of his household? Therefore do not fear them, for whatever is covered shall be revealed, and whatever is hidden shall be made known. What I say to you in the dark, speak in the light, and what you hear in the ear, proclaim on the housetops. And do not fear those who kill the body but are unable to kill the being, but rather fear him who is able to destroy both being and body in Gehenna. Are not 2 sparrows sold for a copper coin, and not one of them falls to the ground without your Father? And even the hairs of your head are all numbered. So do not fear, you are worth more than many sparrows. Everyone, therefore, who shall confess me before men, him I shall also confess before my Father who is in the heavens. But whoever shall deny me before men, him I shall also deny before my Father who is in the heavens. Do not think that I have come to bring peace on earth. I did not come to bring peace, but a sword. For I have come to bring division, a man against his father, a daughter against her mother, and a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. And a man's enemies are those of his own household. He who loves father or mother more than me is not worthy of me, and he who loves son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. And he who does not take up his stake and follow after me is not worthy of me. He who has found his life shall lose it, and he that has lost his life for my sake shall find it. He who receives you receives me, and he who receives me receives him who sent me. He who receives a prophet in the name of a prophet shall receive a prophet's reward, and he who receives a righteous one in the name of a righteous one shall receive a righteous one's reward. And whoever gives one of these little ones a cup of cold water, only in the name of a taught one, truly I say to you, he shall by no means lose his reward. I know we're in a couple verses past that. Does anybody else want to read? We're going to Romans 9. It looks like it is Romans 9, verse 9 to 31.
I'll read again if nobody wants to.
Okay.
Any takers? Going
Please
once.
start at Romans 8:28.
Look at how
Okay.
she just comes in here and starts telling us what to do.
Exactly.
Okay, Bonnie. Are you able to read, Bonnie?
Roman-
Bonnie?
No, I'm driving.
Oh, okay. All right. All right, Leah, you're up.
What did you say? Start at Romans 8:28?
Yeah. And then we'll go to 9:31.
Okay. And we know all that all works together for Tob to those who love Elohim, to those who are called according to his purpose. Because those whom he knew beforehand, he also ordained beforehand to be conformed to the likeness of his Ben, that he become the firstborn among many brothers. And whom he had ordained beforehand, these he also called, and whom he called, these he also declared right. And whom he declared right, these he also esteemed. What then shall we say to this? If Elohim is for us, who is against us? Truly, he who did not spare his own Ben, but delivered him up on behalf of us all, how shall he not, along with him, freely give us all else? Who shall bring any any charge against Elohim's chosen ones? It is Elohim who is declaring right. Who is he who is condemning? It is Hamashiach who died, and furthermore is also raised up, who is also at the right hand of Yahuwah, who also makes intercession for us. Who shall separate us from the love of Hamashiach? Shall pressure or distress or persecution or scarcity of food or nakedness or danger or sword? As it has been written, for your sake we are killed all day long, we are reckoned as sheep of slaughter. But in all this, we are more than overcomers through him who loved us. For I am persuaded that neither death nor life, nor messengers nor principalities, nor powers, neither the present nor the future, nor height nor depth, nor any creature shall be able to separate us from the love of Yahweh, which is in Mashiach Yahushua, our Adon.
Hallelujah. Excellent choice, Bonnie. All right, let's go to 9. Make it a little bigger here. I think that's Tob. All right, Leah.
9, Romans 9. I speak the truth in Mashiach, and I do not lie. My conscience also bearing me witness in Ruach HaKodesh, that I have great sadness and continual grief in my heart. For I myself could have wanted to be banished from Mashiach for the sake of my brothers, my relatives according to the flesh. Who are the Israelites? Who is the adoption of the esteem and the covenants and the giving of the Torah and the worship and the promises? Who are the fathers, and from whom is Hamashiach according to the flesh, who is over all? Baruch of Yahuwah forever. Amen. However, it is not as though the word of Yahuwah has failed, for they are not all Yisrael who are of Yisrael, neither are they all children, because they are the seed of Abraham. But in Yitzhak your seed shall be called. That is, those who are the children of the flesh, these are not the children of Elohim, but the children of the promise are reckoned as the seed. For this is the word of promise. At this time I shall come, and Sarah shall have a son. And not only so, but Ribkah, having conceived by one, our father Yitzhak. Yet before they were born, or had done any good or evil, in order that the purpose of Elohim according to the choice might stand, not of works, but of him who calls, it was said to her, the greater shall serve the lesser. What number am I going to?
We're going to verse 31.
Okay. As it has been written, Jacob I have loved, but Esau I have hated. What then shall we say? Is there unrighteousness with Elohim? Let it not be. For he says to Moshe, I shall favor whomever I shall favor, and I shall have compassion on whomever I have compassion. So then it is not of him who is wanting, nor of him who is running, but of Elohim who shows favor. For the scripture says to Pharaoh, for this same purpose I have raised you up to show my power in you, and that my name be declared in all the earth. So then he favors whom he wants, and he hardens whom he wants. Then you shall say to me, why does he still find fault? For who has resisted his counsel? But who are you, O man, to talk back to Elohim? Shall that which is formed say to him that formed it, why have you made me like this? Does not the potter have authority over the clay, from the same lump to make one vessel for value and another not for value? And if Elohim, desiring to show wrath and to make his power known, with much patience tolerated the vessels of wrath prepared for destruction, and that he might make known the riches of his esteem on vessels of compassion which he had prepared beforehand for esteem, even whom he called, not only us of the Yehudim, but also of the Gentiles. And he also says in Hosea, I shall call them my people who were not my people, and her beloved who was not my beloved. And it shall be in the place where it was said to them, you are not my people. There they shall be called sons of the living Elohim. And Yeshayahu cries out on behalf of Yisrael, though the number of the children of Yisrael be as the sand of the sea, the remnant shall be saved. For he is bringing a matter to an end, and is cutting it short in righteousness, because Yahuwah shall cut short a matter on the earth. And as Yeshayahu said before, if Yahuwah of hosts had not left us a seed, we would have become like Sodom, and we would have been made like Gomorrah. What shall we say then? That Gentiles not following after righteousness have obtained righteousness, even the righteousness of belief? But Israel following after the Torah of righteousness has not arrived at the Torah of righteousness. What number? I may as well go to the end. I'm
Yeah,
right
go to the,
here.
yep, that's what I think too.
Yeah. Why? Not because of belief, but as by works of Torah. For they stumbled at the stone of stumbling. And as it has been written, see, I lay in Zion a stone of stumbling and a rock that makes for falling. And everyone who is believing on him shall not be put to shame.
All right.
Yahushua HaMashiach.
Okay, that's a beautiful reading there. Let's see. My page over or something. Just too big, that's all. Go back to Genesis 25 and we started at 19. Okay. This is the genealogy. Well, I thought it was interesting here that Yitzhak and Rivka, they didn't go seeking a wife for Esau. Esau found his own wife. When we think about Abraham sending away, he sent his servant away to find Rivka for his son to marry. But we don't see that kind of active pursuing of a wife for Esau and Jacob until after the fact. Thought that was interesting.
Yeah, so did I, Darla.
Yeah, it was sort of like they were being a little bit passive about it. Esau goes out and finds his own wife, or I don't know if it's passivity, but somehow that destiny thing that you're going to marry this kind of woman, that didn't seem to be something that was actively in their minds until after the fact that they were grieved by Esau's choices.
And Esau
Unless-
married, sorry, Leah, go.
Oh, I was just gonna say, unless he already went and, kind of jumped the gun on things, and he might have been rebellious because, do you know what I mean? Not waiting to see what his parents would suggest for a wife. He might have just made his own actions and decisions.
It kind of seemed to me like he wasn't rebellious because he regarded what his father thought about it. Seemed to have a lot more closeness to his father than to his mother, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Can you
It
imagine
goes
what,
back-
like, I don't know, an NBL basketball? Imagine like one of our sporting like greats at the moment. You know,
What? I'm not sure.
amazing. Hey,
I'm not sure I understood what you were saying.
yeah. Imagine trying to tell somebody who's famous what to do, even as parents. Somebody who's, used to their own esteem and their own choices in the field and their own renown, particularly among other people as well. And
Yeah.
imagine that, and the attention our sporting heroes get. I'm just picturing Esau as a very tall, burly basketballer or soccer person or rugby and it's like yeah. It'll be very hard telling them what to do.
It's hard for me to tell
especially if he's a
what to do, and they're not.
especially if he's a hunter.
Yeah, that guy's dangerous. Tell him what to do, it'll be dangerous.
But when you think about that, he married somebody who was in the lineage of Canaan. And didn't Noah curse Canaan?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And there has to be a reason why Yahuwah hated him. Like, and it's clear all through scripture. Esau I have hated. So he must have.
I think it's because of the choices he made. I don't think Yahuwah hates anybody. It's the choices that we're given.
That's what I mean, because he was rebellious, probably. Like, you know what I mean? He went and he took wives that he wasn't supposed to, and probably, that sort of thing is the choices that he made is what Yahuwah didn't respect.
He sort of reminds me of Cain. If you know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
Yeah.
Very much so.
yeah. No, total opposites.
I wanted to just go on to 26 because I think we covered quite a bit of that last week.
Yeah.
I also thought it was interesting. I just noticed that I didn't see Yahuwah responding to any of that interaction about sell me your birthright. There was nothing there. There may be in Jubilees, but there wasn't right there where Yahuwah's like, and Yahuwah regarded this, and there wasn't any response from Yahuwah in that what we just read. So now we see there's scarcity in the land.
Darla, before you go on, when it says back there to love and loved, it just seems like
In 25,
that what one's a past tense and one's a now. He gave a reason why he loved him.
because he ate. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're both past tense. Looks like.
Okay. No, I'm talking about with Rebecca loves or love. What does it say there? Yeah.
It looks like it's
Sorry.
all. It looks like it's verbs are past.
Yeah, it is past tense. Yeah. So with the birthright, what was it that he first gave up? What was his inheritance? This is the question that I ask.
So let's look at the commentary on 31. Verse 31.
Wasn't it the priestly line?
Look who's here.
Hello, Marie.
Hey guys, how you
That-
going?
Hi, Marie.
Hey.
Marie.
I've been listening for a while.
Oh, we're glad you're here.
Well, I'm glad I'm here too. Yeah, so wasn't it the birthright that he gave up?
Yeah,
the
birthright.
birthright.
Sorry,
Yeah.
sorry, I mean the priestly line. He gave up the priestly line. He didn't want anything to do with it.
This one
The
says
house of
He
But it
already
has-
he already thought that he was going to be killed or something, wasn't it? Like,
Yeah, in the book of Jasher, it talks about that he had.
yeah, but he had no regard for the house of Shem, the priestly line. He didn't. Yeah, anyway, I can't remember.
well, this one here in Cambridge is saying the birthright, the rights and privileges of the firstborn. What these were is not defined. In 27, I assume they mean verse 27, the barak of the firstborn is chiefly regarded as a religious privilege.
Yeah.
Rather than as a transfer of property. Yeah, we talked about that last week a little bit.
Mm.
I think in the commentary that we were reading.
And don't also get the double portion.
Yeah. Yeah.
It says it is clear from Genesis 43 and 48, these verses, that the firstborn was regarded as entitled to a more honorable position and to a larger share of the inheritance than his brethren. Jacob's action on this occasion is recorded without disapproval. That was what I was making note of here.
Disapproval. Okay.
There is probably a touch of humor in the tradition that by a stroke of cleverness, Jacob the younger deprived his elder brother Esau of the advantage of the birthright, and hence Yasharel obtained a richer and more fertile land than Edom. The carelessness of Esau rather than the meanness of Jacob seems to meet with the contempt of the narrator. So focus on being that it didn't matter to him. And also what Marie was saying, that it was a religious privilege. It was chiefly regarded as religious privilege rather than a transfer of property.
So all the responsibility of the firstborn was also to take care of family. those who weren't married in the area. Like, this is not just Esau. This goes down the generations, right? I'm just trying to understand it all, that's all.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all are. This one says the birthright consisted afterwards in a double portion of the father's inheritance. But with the patriarchs, it embraced the chieftainship. Okay, so that was from the after the Exodus from Egypt in Deuteronomy. It says, but with the patriarchs, it embraced the chieftainship, the ruler, the rule over the brethren and the entire family. And it's easier for us to think about Indians and that was kind of the role. And the title to the Baraka of the Promise, which included the future possession of Canaan and of covenant fellowship with Yahuwah. Wow. Wonder if this will open up for us. Maybe not. May he give you and your descendants the Baraka given to Abraham, so that you may take possession of the land where you now reside as a foreigner, the land Elohim gave to Abraham.
Yeah, that's the blessing of Abraham. He gave that to Isaac, didn't he? In that one?
Yeah. I need to talk about Jacob. So this was Baraka put on Jacob.
So you could see why Yahuwah would resent him if he took that lightly and resented it even. You know, that barakah on him and he pays no heed to it. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, we wonder why Rivka didn't say anything to she knew that the elder was going to serve the younger. That's what Shem and Avraham and Eva had said. And that actually, because when she went to speak to them, it says that in the book of Jasher, or it's in the Targum, I can't remember which one, that she did inquire of Avraham, Shem and Eva about that. So she did the same thing as we spoke last week, took matters into her own hands and made the younger have the blessings, have the barakah.
Yeah, and there's also
But she also took the curse on herself. And where's that scripture, Rivka crying for her children? Oh, no, it's Rachel.
Yeah, that was Rachel.
Rachel, right, sorry. Yeah, she took the curse on herself.
Who else took a curse on themselves? Yahushua.
Yahushua, yeah. Could you imagine Rivka, you know, putting up with two Canaanite wives when the teaching in the household always was, do not do that.
Well, you wonder with Isaac, he was raised in Torah, right? He was raised under all of this. He knew none of the other. So is what he was seeing, that his eldest son, being a man of the world, being in the world, did that attract him?
Yeah. Well, that was the danger, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Being attracted by the things of the world and not listening to the teachings and the loving instructions of our Heavenly Father.
And that's the same thing of today. Do you think?
Yeah. Oh,
that's sort
sure.
of.
Yeah, everything repeats.
You know, I'm seeing the prodigal son story in this. Yeah, Tessa just said, you know, that taking a curse on you, that's what Yahushua did for us. So much of the scriptural accounts, stories, analogies, parables, they all fold into each other.
Yeah, it's all for us to glean from, for us to.
Oh, sorry. I was also thinking about too when talked about Jacob and Esau bringing the blessings of Barakah to the father, to Isaac, for the end of life blessing. I'm also thinking about Cain and Abel and what happened with those two.
Hmm. Well, I've got a note here on my book, just saying Cain and Esau were basically the same, and Abel and Isaac, Jacob were the same. And I'm just trying to think of why, reading down here further to see why.
Yeah, it should not have been
Ah.
so. If they were
One was
twins, obviously they weren't identical twins, obviously.
Obviously.
Okay. One was a farmer and one was a shepherd. Both were opposite. One was one who kills and one who protects. Wow. Okay.
Hmm.
So did Esau have any respect? Was he a respecter of life? Does it say that in the commentary there?
Well, he wanted to kill his brother. He definitely wanted to do that.
Obviously.
He said that in his head, or even more than in his head. Somebody overheard him say it.
Yeah, his mum heard it, didn't he?
Somebody heard it and told his mother, it said.
Okay.
Yeah, informed her. So this here says the birthright consisted afterwards in a double portion of the father's inheritance, but with the patriarchs it embraced the chieftainship, the rule over the brethren and the entire family, and the title of the Baraka of the promise, which the title to the Baraka. So that's what
that's the blessing, the barakah of Abraham.
Mm-hmm. So that's the birthright's the title to it. He earned the Baraka from his brother giving it to him. Interesting. That's so interesting. He owned the title. That's what the porridge was about, the lentils. Getting the title to the Baraka.
That's another bowl of soup. Here we go.
Yeah.
We have sell me your birthright for a bowl of soup, but when it come to the barakah of Isaac, go and fetch me and do a stew. It's the same with food. Sell me your birthright.
Yeah. It's as if the father didn't know anything about that first bowl of lentils. But somehow the title to the Baraka was attached to the food. And the title to the Baraka of the promise, which included the future possession of Canaan and of covenant fellowship with Yahuwah. So I'm assuming this is land here, possession of Canaan. And then this is not land. This is religion with Yahuwah. Jacob knew this, and it led him to anticipate the purposes of Elohim. So he's thinking about all of this. If I could just get that birthright, which is the title to the Baraka. Esau also knew it, but attached no value to it. There is proof enough that he knew he was giving away, along with the birthright, Baraka, a Barakot, which, because they were not of a material but of a spiritual nature, had no particular value in his estimation. In the words he made use of, behold, I am going to die to meet death, and what is the birthright to me? The only thing of value to him was the sensual enjoyment of the present. The spiritual Barakot of the future his carnal mind was unable to estimate. In this he showed himself to be a profane man who cared for nothing but the momentary gratification of sensual desires, who did eat and drink and rose up and went his way, and so despised his birthright.
So I wonder, Darla, if he understood the life to come. Okay, this is pre-Yahushua, but he was living for the moment. He didn't believe in what was to come in the future. What good is my birthright if I'm going to die this day?
Yeah, and he also didn't believe, in an afterlife. You know what I mean? Like that's what. Oh no! Wait a minute. Maybe that was Cain and Abel having that argument. I think it was. Sorry.
Well, if it happened with them, maybe it happened with these two as well.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
So they're making a point here that the scriptures in Genesis 25, the scriptures are telling us that he despised it. He despised it. And where was that here?
Can we look up despised?
Yep.
Mm.
With these words, the scriptures judge and condemn the conduct of Esau. Just as Ishmael was excluded from the promised Berachot because he was begotten according to the flesh, so Esau lost it because his disposition was according to the flesh. His disposition. There was nothing Ishmael could do about where he came from by birth. He was just born. He had his mother, his father. He had nothing to do with picking that. But Esau lost it because his disposition was according to the flesh. The frivolity with which he sold his birthright to his brother for a dish of lentils rendered him unfit to be the heir and possessor of the promised favor. But this did not justify Jacob's conduct in the matter, though not condemned here, yet in the future course of the history, it is shown to have been wrong by the simple fact that he did not venture to make this transaction the basis of a claim. Okay, which word are we looking up?
Despised,
Okay.
maybe? To despise?
Interlinear. And sold his birthright. Is this the verse 33? ISR, look here again. See which verse it is. It's the last sentence here in 34. Okay. Despised. Jabez. We were talking about this word. Everybody know the prayer of, quote, Jabez? So he despised. Bazah, to despise. To disesteem.
Makes sense then.
Yeah. And it's also translated to or means vile person. Contemptible. But
So, okay then, sorry,
go ahead.
do you think that when it come to him selling his birthright, that particular time, the first instance, the first pottage when he come in from the field, Jacob hadn't had pre-planned all of this. This is when Esau come on in and said, "Oh, give me a bowl of stew because I'm going to die. Whatever. What good is it?" So obviously that wasn't a pre-plan. But on that, I had noticed that on this was it that one on this day?
I wonder if he didn't pre-plan it. I mean, he had the stew there. He was ready to go with his answer.
The stew there was the pottage of the of mourning, because
Yes. Abraham had died, hadn't he?
Abraham had just died, yeah, and that was
Yeah.
what their mourning, when they mourn, that's what they had was lentils.
Yeah, that was my understanding too. The Targums talk about that.
Yeah, and I think Jasher does, maybe. Tessa, can you remember?
It probably does.
Maybe, yeah, but yeah, the Targum definitely.
Yeah, Jasher 27. I've got a note here.
Okay, yeah.
Is there anything in Joshua
27.
to give us an idea if this could have been just his plan all along? The commentarist was saying,
No.
suggesting that he had really regarded, what you were going to do with that birthright, if I get it.
Well, you've got to look at here is at Abraham's death, according to what the book of Jasher and the book and the Dead Sea Scrolls, etc. They say that Jacob and Esau were about the age of 15. Right, so they're not adults. They're around the age of 15 because Abraham died at 175.
Yeah.
And when you work it all out, they're only about 15. So they're teenagers.
Mm.
Sounds like him and his mom had probably talked about it.
Abraham, sorry. I'm sure it was Abraham who spoke to his mother and said
And
that.
so did Shem and Eber.
Yeah, that Yaakov was to receive the birthright.
Mm. So he may have known all about it. He may have.
He probably did. His mother probably told him.
Mm-hmm.
So.
But why didn't he tell Isaac? Why didn't he tell their father?
I think because Isaac loved Esau.
Yeah.
And
but Marie, do you think that because it doesn't say that Rebecca didn't love Esau?
No, but she favored Yaakov though, and Dad favored Esau.
Where is that verse? The love verse. Here we go. It's verse 28. See if it's the same word even. Might be interesting. 25, 28. Okay, we've got Wayaheb.
You're here, Marie.
Sorry?
I'm so glad you're here.
I'm glad I'm here too.
Missed you.
Yeah, I've missed you guys so
So
much.
great to have you all here.
Yeah.
It's the same word.
Yep.
Yeah, we haven't seen your mug in a while.
You tell us, sis.
I'm here. Present and accountant.
You know what's so interesting? Is that Isaac and Rivka and Jacob all have a kuf. In fact, Jacob has a kuf bet and Rivka has a bet kuf.
Wow.
Yeah. Pretty interesting.
Isn't it?
But both boys have an ayin. Esau and Jacob both have an ayin. And that means to see and to look at, to ask questions about. A lot of perception.
Yeah, I wonder when it comes. Sorry.
Go ahead.
I wonder when it comes to with Rivka, right? Here she grew up in a household that served and worshipped idols and everything that is opposite to what she has married into with marrying into and wanting to know Yahuwah,
Yeah.
Avra, the the creator of the heaven and of the earth, is the Elohim of her husband. Her family that she'd left. So if you're, I'm just trying to think out loud, and I know it's all confusing, but when it comes to, she was of the world and she left the world to come into covenant,
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah.
where it seemed, does it seem, and this is just thinking out loud, here is Isaac, he was in covenant, but liked what his son was doing in the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they've got two children, two sons, who are total opposites. One is of the world, and one is wanting to follow Yahuwah.
The wheat and the tares.
Isn't that the story of what we're supposed to
Mhm.
do?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's the wheat and the tares right there.
Yeah.
And that's us. All we have to do. Leave the world.
Yeah, because it even said in one of the readings, was it in Matthew, that you leave your children, those who love their children more than they love me.
That was in the Matthew reading, right?
Yeah.
Yes, that's it.
Interesting. There's also a bet in Ribka, in Jacob, and in the word loved. And we know that heart is Leb. And so there's a bet in Leb as well. But Yitzhak and Esau, they bet.
So the kuf, is a priest, as a cap, the kingdom, the domain, the dome, the nest, the priesthood, and the bet is the house, the tent, the head, the ram. You know more than that of me, Darla.
Oh, I'm just one. I'm just one sister and handmaid servant. That's it.
That's all you got to be, sister.
That's it. That's it. Love the olive taw on Jacob's name. There. Well, everything lightens up, but yeah, there's also one on Esau here too. But I'd read one time that, or someone taught me this, is that when Esau sold the birthright, he lost the olive taw before his name.
Yeah, I heard that too.
Yeah, I've heard that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So sad.
Yeah.
So amazing to think about Yaakov, really thinking about what could it be like if I got that birthright. That's young. 15 is young.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely he would have been thinking that. But I think also because he had his head screwed on so well.
I think it is part of the calling. I can remember when I was around 10 that I was preaching into a tape recorder. Like, that's nothing to do with me. That was what Yahuwah was doing.
Yeah.
If you're enjoying this video, click like, subscribe, click the bell, and please share this video. Shalom. Let's get back to the video. May this
In verse 31
Yeah.
of 25 and verse 33, it repeats, as of this day, as of this day.
What chapter are you in?
25? Oh,
25.
we passed 25, haven't we?
No, I'm in 25 right now, I think. I'm in 25, but it doesn't look. I know what you're talking about because I noticed that as well. At least I noticed one of them, but I don't see it right here.
Sell me your birthright today.
Oh yeah, swear to me today. Yeah,
And also in 33.
swear to me
Does
today.
it say it?
It says swear to me today. Yeah.
Yeah. Can we look at that in the...
Mm-hmm. You want 33? Verse 33?
Yeah.
Well, you got your here's the word for 7, right? To seven oneself, to swear.
That's an oath.
Yeah. Which word did you want to look up? Today or
As of this day.
so all they do is they put
31.
cough on there, cough prefix as, like or as.
The next one, as of this day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Swear to me as of this day.
Yeah. This one.
As of this day. Because that's the same one in 31 as well.
Yep. So this one was sell. So in terms of verbs, this one's sell, and the other one was swear. This is interesting. We're used to the word mikra. This one's with a cough. This one's sell, whereas the other one is a rehearsal.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wonder if it's got anything with buying and selling with the 5 virgins.
Makar. This is where Makir comes from. A primitive root to sell, literally as merchandise, a daughter in marriage, into slavery, or figuratively to surrender. Sell away, sell self. It says sell away here. Okay. What's the first?
Yeah, I've got a note here that in the Targums, it was the day that Abraham had died and Esau was out in the field. Jacob was in the tents cooking porridge to comfort his father. Esau came in from the wilderness. As of this day, he had committed 5 transgressions. I don't know what they are. And that's when the oath that as of this day. So he knew that the birthright had passed from Abraham to Isaac, and the next generation was Esau and himself.
Hold on, you guys. I figure out my microphone is. All right, doggy, be quiet. Be quiet. Be quiet. Olaf, knock it off. Did you guys hear something about the reason Esau was thinking he was going to die that day was because the story was that he had killed Nimrod. Is that in Jasher or Jubilees one?
It is, but I don't know if it was that same day.
Okay,
Yeah, it was the same day.
that's what I thought.
Yep. That's why, yeah, he's running. That because all his Nimrod's guards, men were after him.
Isn't that amazing then? That here is Nimrod, who was supposed to be a mighty hunter, was killed by a hunter,
It was a
Esau.
boy.
Nimrod was what they call them, the king of the world,
at that time, where Abraham was the friend of Yahuwah, who was the Elohim of the world.
Yep.
Mm.
What else?
They called Nimrod friend of the world?
No, Abraham.
Oh, okay.
Kind of
Friend
mirrors
of
the
the Lord.
story of David. You know, a young boy killing a giant.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah. Good pickup.
Mm. Yeah, everything is cyclical. And everything
He
is
never
about
changes. He doesn't change, does he?
No.
Interesting. We get glimpses of the marriage of Yitzhak and Rivka, that they're not lockstep. There's the wife trying to deceive,
Yeah.
take matters into her own hands. There's not that heart oneness. They both have their favorite child.
Mm.
And we see the picture also with Abraham and Sarah, that there's it's not just like they're so close.
It was the same thing that Abraham had. He favored Esau. Ishmael, because he was his firstborn.
Yeah.
And as Bonnie pointed out last week, here is the wives taking matters into their own hands. Like Sarah, here's my maidservant. I might have children through her. Here is Rebecca. Come on, you do as I'm telling you to do, so you can get the birthright blessing. Barakah.
Yeah. All right, you guys ready to go on to 26?
Yes. There's just so much to talk about. You glean so much with talking with you guys.
We all do.
Yeah.
So here Yitzhak is told in the time of the famine here, scarcity of food, tells Yahuwah tells Yitzhak not go down to Mitzrayim. He doesn't want to go down there.
So he's having a conversation with the Most High,
Yeah.
as Abraham did.
Yeah.
Hallelujah.
How amazing is that?
I'd be trembling in my boots.
Yeah.
He tells him, stay here in this land, and I shall establish the oath which I swore to Abraham your father. And I shall increase your seed like the stars of the heavens. And all your seed, all the nations of the earth shall be Baruch, because Abraham obeyed my voice and guarded my charge. So he's telling this to Yitzhak now.
So with Isaac, he's doing the same thing. He's obeying. He's doing the same thing his father did. He obeyed. He was obedient to Yahuwah.
Obedient. Says he stayed right there.
He sojourned in the land that his father was given. Is that right?
Yeah, the land that he's telling him to stay in. Sojourn in this land. Yep. And so this would have been right after Abraham died.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And we go through the whole thing. She is my sister again. We talked about verse 8 last week.
Same old routine.
Yeah.
No, it's not my wife, it's my sister.
I'm not lying. It is the truth.
Yeah, I'm not lying.
Nothing to see here.
Yeah. Don't look. Don't watch us.
When you see how prosperous she was
Yeah.
in 2613,
Yeah. This one here. Reaped a hundredfold the same year.
so he was selling to the, if that land had become a famine and everyone was going down to Mitzrayim, because Yahuwah told them not to. Now, is that the same story? Did we read that back up further?
You want to go up?
Just a little. It might be back down. I don't know. Why was he told not to go to Mitzrayim? Okay. He
Yeah.
appeared to him up there.
Doesn't
to
say. I
do-
always wonder that too. Why he can't go?
I think it's in the Targums.
I'll have a look.
It was said that there was a famine in the land. But
Yeah.
because he ended up staying and obeying Yahuwah, he prospered 100-fold, and he ended up becoming wealthy, being able to sell to those who were around him.
That's
Because Yahuwah provided, he listened, he obeyed, and that was his rewards.
yeah.
Says the man grew great and went forward until he became very great. Came to have possessions of flocks and possessions of herds and a great body of servants, and the Philistines envied him.
Reminds me of Joseph in Mitzrayim.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I guess if Yitzchak had gone down to Egypt, maybe all of that wouldn't have been set up for Joseph and Jacob's kids to come down when they did in the way that they did. That was the time they were not with Yitzchak. Here's
Well, if Isaac didn't go down, that meant that Esau and Jacob didn't go down as well.
this here in verse 24, after the stuff about the well and the water, it's very similar to the verse up here, because I'll increase you. So he says it in 4 and 5, I'll increase you. I'll give, the nations are going to be Baruch because Abraham obeyed my voice. And then down here, he appeared to him at night and said, I am the Elohim of your father Abraham. Do not fear, for I am with you and shall barak you and increase your seed for my servant Abraham's sake.
Wow.
And then we get to the wives of Esau. Interesting name, Yehudi. What the commentary says on 34. These two wives.
When Leah said that it upset both Isaac and Rivka in the last page, last sentence of that stood out to me.
Yeah. Another thing that just popped into my head, I had thought about earlier, but we were talking, was that when Jacob got his baraka, his birakot, the father says something about the brothers being underneath him. Were there were more than two? Did any of you think about that? Is there something in Jasher or Jubilees that talks about it? Did they have more than two children? Did they only have two children? Because if they did, why did he say your brothers will be under you? Brothers will serve you, whatever the wording was.
Would that mean your descendants, like your cousin?
Maybe.
But
I didn't know that Isaac and Rebecca had any more.
no.
Did you guys think about that when we read it? Who's-
No, I had thought about
I
that
didn't.
Abraham had two wives and two wives and two sons, where here is
One wife.
Isaac has one wife and two sons.
I have thought about it when I've read it, but I just assumed that it was talking about, like I said, descendants. But I could be wrong.
Yeah.
I mean,
now
Well, if they call their cousins sisters and brothers,
yeah.
I don't know. No, I hadn't thought about that. Darla,
That's what I was thinking.
That
have
was-
you read anything like that in your readings?
no,
No.
it just came up.
No.
So where does he? Here's the scripture about the baraka. And let people serve you and nations be master. Let your mother's sons bow down to you. Okay. So let's go look at 29 commentary. 27:29. Your mother's sons. There may be more than one opinion on this as well.
Okay, this just popped into my head. What was Rebecca's brother's name? Laban?
Laban, yeah.
Would he be classed as a brother?
Well, that's what I would think. But yeah.
Yeah.
Her mother's sons. The Targum of
Her mother-
Jerusalem interprets the latter of the sons of Laban, his mother's brother, the Arabians and Syrians,
Yep.
which will be more fully accomplished when the kingdoms of the world shall become the kingdoms of our Adon and of his Mashiach. Okay.
Yep.
Eva Study Bible says, the first half of this verse seems to refer to conquest over foreign foes, the second half to preeminence among the kindred races. The complete fulfillment of this prediction cannot have taken place before the times of David and Shlomo. The peoples and nations who served and bowed down were the Canaanites, the brethren, and the mother's sons were the Edomites. So all of Esau's children, the Edomites, Ammonites, Moabites, and Amalekites. There's Amalek. Makes me think of our Terry, because she would talk about Amalek.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what about Esau's children? He had sons, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, he had sons.
Yeah.
You've got me thinking now, Darla.
This one says a repetition of the preceding thought, which perhaps a hint of his desire to humble Jacob, the favorite of Rebecca. Interesting. Let your mother's sons bow down to you. Let your mother's sons. So he thinks he's talking to Esau, right? Let your mother's sons bow down to you. So he thinks he's telling Esau that
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Never thought of it like that. Yeah.
This is interesting. It says in Eastern countries where there is so little rain, the dew is the most important prerequisite for the growth of the fruits of the earth and is often mentioned, therefore, as a source of baraka.
Yeah. The
Makes
Jews,
sense.
the Jews of the heavens.
The rest of the baraka had reference to the future preeminence of his son. He was to be Lord not only over his brethren, over kindred tribes, but also over foreign peoples and nations. The baraka rises here to the idea of universal dominion, which was to be realized in the fact that according to the attitude assumed by the people towards him as their master, it would secure to them either a baraka or a curse. Huh, that's interesting. According to the attitude assumed by the people towards him as their master, it would secure to them either a baraka or a curse. If we compare this baraka with the promises which Abraham received, there are two elements of the latter which are very apparent. The possession of the land in the promise of the rich enjoyment of its produce and the numerous increase of posterity in the promised dominion over the nations. The third element, however, the Barakot of the nations in and through the seed of Abraham, is so generalized in the expression, which is molded according to Genesis 12:3, cursed be everyone that curses you, and Baruch be he that Baruch you. That the person Baruch is not thereby declared to be the medium of salvation to the nations. Is not thereby declared to be the medium of salvation to the nations. Since the intention to give the baraka to Esau, the firstborn, did not spring from proper feelings towards Yahuwah and his promises, the baraka itself, as the use of the word Elohim instead of Yahuwah or El Shaddai, clearly shows could not rise to the full height of descendants would stand to one another. I'm sorry, could not rise to the full height of the divine Barakot of salvation, but rather chiefly to the relation in which the two brothers and their descendants would stand to one another, the theme with which Isaac's soul was entirely filled. It was only the painful discovery that in baraka, against his will, he had been compelled to follow the saving counsel of Elohim, which awakened in him the consciousness of his patriarchal vocation and gave him the spiritual power to impart the baraka of Abraham to the son whom he had kept back, but whom Yahuwah had chosen when he was about to send him away to Haran. Yeah, there's that idea of being sent away from the family again.
Yep.
You have to leave your family.
Yeah, it was Rebecca that.
Go ahead.
Rebecca had said to Isaac, we need, because of
the wives,
we need to send them back to the homeland, to my sister, to my brothers, to my homeland, to have family. The wives, which ended up being Leah and
Rachel.
Rachel.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in with that, like Abraham left that land and went away. Isaac stayed home, but then he ended up sending one of his sons away, the one that the promise was going to. When it comes to that, the barakah that he was tricked into giving, is it the same as the barakah that was given in just before he left?
But that's in the next chapter, I think. Yeah. He gives him another version of it.
Yeah.
Shortened version, maybe. So here he's given him a command: do not take a wife from the daughters of Canaan. Arise, go to Padan Aram, to the house of Bethuel, your mother's father, and to take a wife for yourself from there. So Rivka would have known these would be the place to grab some wives that was in line with what Abraham had done. Go there to get
Well,
your
they used
wives.
they used to get together, according to whether it was the book of Jasher or whether it was the Targums. They used to come together because Rebecca knew that her brother had two twins. Because in the book of, I think it's the book of Jasher, is it, Marie, that talks about,
I think it's
um,
Jasper.
yeah, talks about both Leah and Rachel. And Leah was supposed to be given to Esau, and
Mhm.
Rachel was supposed to be given to Jacob.
Oh,
And that's why Leah's eyes were droopy, because she was crying the whole time,
She,
thinking that she was going to
she
be
did.
betrothed.
She didn't want to marry Esau.
Because she knew how evil he was.
Yeah.
He was very well known, as to who he was.
wow.
Yeah.
If he killed Nimrod, he would be famous, basically.
Yeah.
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 That's sweet that he loved his father, though. You know, he had
Yeah.
love for his father and respect for his father.
Well, until he was going to serve him up a dog.
What? What happened?
Until because he couldn't find any venison, he had thought of serving him up a dog. That's in
Wow.
yeah, it's what's that in? It's either Jasher or Targums, I think. Yeah. Do you remember that, Tessa?
I don't recall, but
Yeah, I do.
Wow.
One of those things that
Just a
stands
bit.
out.
Just
So
the Baraka. He was gonna bring unclean meat to get in order to get
yeah,
the
exactly. There you go. Yep.
like the old
He
man
did.
just go ahead and die.
Yeah. Just die and give me the blessing.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can have this.
wow.
Yeah, it's pretty. Actually, I think it's the Targum that it's in, now that I think about it.
When you think about it, are things much different? Because when it comes to an inheritance, as we know, there can be
Yeah.
disputes, family disputes, and it can get pretty ugly out there.
Yeah.
I'm thankful I haven't had to go through any of that, but
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, you can sure see it brings out the worst in people.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Can
It
bring out the
certainly
worst in people. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it can do, yeah.
Especially if you
I'm
have
blessed.
In some
step
Yeah.
children and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
As people, I've heard them say, well, it's all going to burn anyway, so
It's going up in flames.
it's all going to burn anyway. You come into the world with nothing and you go back out.
There's
Oh.
nothing.
Or you get a set of clothes
Well, hopefully you get those ones.
and a box.
All right.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you guys wanted to talk about in Genesis reading today? Or we could move on to Malachi. We'll move on.
We can do.
Sure.
Okay. Malachi. And this is chapter 1 and then first 4 verses of 2. Wow. So we're back to Esau and Jacob. We didn't get too far, just to the end of the Tanakh here. Or the end of the Old Testament, technically. It's not the end of the Tanakh in the way that it is ordered in the Tanakh. They're in a different book order. The message of the word of Yahuwah to Yasharel by Malachi, which means by my messenger. We could just as easily take out Malachi and put by my messenger.
Yep.
I have loved you, said Yahuwah, but you asked, in what way have you loved us? Was not Esau Jacob's brother, declares Yahuwah, and I love Jacob, but I have hated Esau, and have laid waste his mountains and his inheritance for the jackals of the wilderness. So I'm assuming that Teza wants to go look at that word hated.
Yep.
Interlinear verse 3. So we've got a Sheen, Noon, Aleph, Ta, Yod. You know, it's going to make another point while we're here. Well, maybe not while we're here, but so Adam, no, it's Ish, it's man. Ish, Aleph, Sheen, and then Isha for woman, Aleph, Sheen, Hey. And they talk about the sheens being like consuming fire, and then you have Yod and Hey. They each have a Yod. But together they have a Yod and a Hey, which is Yahuwah. So they talk about a marriage. You need Yahuwah there, or they will combust. They will burn up. They could destroy each other without Yahuwah.
That's beautiful, Darla, that without Yahuwah you have a consuming fire.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
burned up.
Yeah, both of them have a sheen, man and woman. And then so also what I was noticing when I put out Yitzhak, Yod, Zadi, Chet Kuf, and Rivka, Reshbet, Kuf, Hey. Of course, Reshbet is to multiply, to become many and great. But between them they have a Zadi Kuf Resh. I didn't see a definition, at least in the Kleins, for that, going either way, Resh Kuf Zadi or Zadi Kuf Resh. But it's an interesting group of letters that they have among them as one, as a married couple, but they also have a Yod and a Hey. Yod and a Hey, and that idea of multiplying. And of course they have laughter because they have Yitzhak, he laughs. Okay, so hate. Looking at this word, a primitive root to hate personally. It also says enemy, foe, hate, be hateful, a hater. We hear that, you got a hater, you've got a hater. Yeah. Utterly, be hateful, odious.
Doesn't it say in scripture that we are to hate what Yahuwah hates?
Yeah.
And it gets for me, it gets down to he gives us the desires of our own heart, whether it's tov or whether it's bad.
The first use of that word is in 2460, which is just outside of what we were reading today, just before it. And Yitzhak was verse 60. And they Baruch Rivka and said to her, this was her family said to her, let our sister become the mother of thousands, of 10,000s, and let your seed possess the gates of those who hate them.
Okay, that's the one that I was talking about last week, Darla, that was like a curse. You know how Rachel didn't end up falling pregnant for 20 years?
Yeah.
They meant this as a barakah, but it was like a curse. And to take it out of their hands, it was like Yahuwah didn't allow anything to happen until Isaac had prayed. Both of them had prayed to the Elohim.
Yeah.
But it says in the Targums or it says in Jasher, I can't remember which one, but so did Shem, so did Eber, so did Abraham and Isaac. They all prayed
Wow.
to Yah,
Yeah.
to
That's-
Yahuwah for Rebecca. And it was going to be like, you know how with Sarah, how what was that? Amalek, was it him that ended up taking her, and the whole household became barren? It's the
Yeah.
same thing that happened.
Yeah.
When it comes to that, he
Mm.
paid Abraham a large sum of money to say, look, I haven't touched her. But other people out there were sort of saying, you know, Abraham's so old, you know, how is he going to end up fathering a child? But they forgot that Sarah, because she was so youthful, they say, even though she was 90 when she conceived, that
She was.
it might have been somebody else that had fathered Isaac, but Yahuwah was making a point known that it was him. And maybe it's the same thing here. Yahuwah is making a point that it was him. He's the promised one.
Yeah.
Mm. Yep.
It's so weird to me to think about you've got two twins, but one is the firstborn. It's like, what is it, minutes between their births, but all this
It
praise
depends.
and honor for the firstborn.
It depends. I've got two first cousins. This is my mother's brother's children. Both of them one was born a day before the other. Now it's because of I think there was half an hour difference between them. You could not get more chalk and cheese. So I understand when they say one was red and one was smooth.
Mm.
But one
Yeah.
that's the image of his mother, one's the image of his father.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just, it's so odd to think about raising, like Esau comes in and says, well, I'm your firstborn. Like that's the trophy he wore or something. I'm your firstborn, but they were born reasonably with, they were part of the same labor process.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously one has to be born first, but they were still, in theory, they're born on the same day.
Yep.
Yes.
Very close. And there's a lot of twins too in the scriptures, huh?
Yep. A
Yes.
lot.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know.
if you think
Sorry.
you go, sister. No, you go.
Oh no, it's all right. I kind of lost my train of thought now. Sorry.
Twins. We'll talk about twins.
Twins. Yeah. Okay. So if you think about it, when you're looking at, because you need a birthright, you need someone to take the birthright. I mean, that would be the only way to do that with twins, wouldn't it? Is to take the firstborn. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
somebody has to
Yep.
have the birthright. So yeah, give it to the one who got to the finish line first.
Yeah. You can just
Well,
imagine
when you
as a baby, the inside, one of them pushing and kicking the other one out of the way so he can get in there, They
Yeah.
were fighting.
The one who broke the matrix.
Exactly.
That, yeah.
Like
Yeah.
he's got his big trophy. I'm your firstborn, the one you love.
But when they talk about when things are going to happen in the future, they end up using their birth as a start of one and an end of another. Oh, that was
Yeah.
my alarm.
Yeah.
How can you tell when one age is going to end with the other? And they use Esau's heel and
Yaakov's.
Jacob's hand, and that's how that's the difference between it. There is no difference. It's going to end up happening. It's together, and I can't remember what. I think it's in Ezra somewhere.
What
Might
is
have been in Second Ezra.
Ezra or Ezra?
Second Ezra's.
Yeah. All right, let's go back to Malachi because we're going to talk about Esau some more. It's not Esau, Jacob's brother, and I love Jacob, but I hated Esau. Okay. If Edom says, we have been beaten down, let us return and build the ruins. Yahuwah Zabot said thus, let them build, but I tear down, and they shall be called border of wrongness, and the people against whom Yahuwah is enraged forever.
So, Darla, are they talking about the whole of Israel? They're not just talking about Esau and Isaac here, are they?
Well, those are certainly the heads of those tribes and peoples. But yeah, they wouldn't. Got my fan on a little too high now. Hold on a second. They're definitely not talking about those two men, those two brothers, but who they became. Edom became a land and tribe and all that. And they probably still have traits of their father. Definitely got lineage.
Yep.
But it's so interesting to think about those ones Yahuwah had chosen from Abraham on, and even Noah, that he was called out of what he had and what he knew. You got to leave that. You're going to leave it all underwater, as a matter of fact. Called out. Life is not the same as you once knew it when you leave with Yahuwah.
Yeah, he shakes us up, doesn't he?
Yeah, it's like he starts with a bare bones, and now we're going to build you up from here.
Yeah.
We take all the Egypt away from you, or all of the Ur of Chaldees or whatever. When we take that away from you, and now you're out here with me. If a person goes into a prison, it's him and Yahuwah. He's got no one else to pray to. I mean, they can pray to whoever they want to, of course, but in theory, they can choose Yahuwah. They got nothing. They don't have a TV to sit in front of. They don't have a store to rob. They have to survive where they're at now, which is can be like hell on earth, is what I've heard. They have the opportunity to hold on to Yahuwah, to find him, to repent, and to make changes, and to absolutely 100% rely on Yahuwah. They're called out of whatever environment they were living in and being comfortable in. So great.
I'm just going to say I've got to leave, so I'll end up catching you on the next one. Thank you so much. I've learned so much today.
Thank you for being with us.
Shalom, Teza.
Shabbat shalom for you guys, and see you next time.
Love you, Tessa.
Love yous.
Bye.
So interesting that people are saying the table of Yahuwah is despicable. Commentary, verse 7. Says, this is not the showbread which was not offered upon the altar. The word rendered bread means in Arabic flesh, in Hebrew food generally. This word is applied to the fat portion of the peace offerings, which were burned, and is therefore translated food. Is used to the sacrifices generally, but is there inconsistently translated bread. The context shows that the words polluted bread means food unfit to be offered. Polluted me is the same as profane my name. Or in the Hebrew scriptures, Elohim and Elohim's name are often equivalent expressions. So him and his name are equal. Kyle takes the words which he strongly translates, you that offer polluted bread, as parallel to the words despisers of my name. Interesting. And to a certain degree explanatory of them, while he finds the actual answer to the questions wherein have we despised, wherein have we polluted, is given in the words, in that you say. He renders the passage thus, says Yahuwah Sabaoth unto you, you priests who despise my name, and yet say, wherein have we despised your name? You who offer on mine altar polluted food, and yet say, wherein have we polluted you? You have despised my name and polluted me, in that you say, the table of Yahuwah is contemptible. The error of this rendering consists in supposing that offering polluted food, which is anatherus, can be parallel to you priests who despise my name. Interesting. Which is defined by the definite article. In truth, the English version is perfectly correct. We will repeat it with only the slightest possible verbal alterations and with such parenthetical explanations as are required to make it quite intelligible. Says Yahuwah Sabaoth unto you, O priests that despise my name. This is the commencement of a prophetic rebuke to the priest. But so we were with Esau and Jacob, we were talking about this priestly duty, as Maria had said. So a prophetic rebuke to the priest. They, in accordance with the prophet's graphic style of writing, are supposed to catch up at the first clause of his utterance. But, despisers of Elohim's name, but say you, wherein have we despised your name? The answer, offering as you do polluted food upon my altar. But say you, wherein have we polluted you? When now you offer the blind for sacrifice, is it not evil? Says, say, show by your conduct that such is your feeling. This was their inward thought. He puts these thoughts into abrupt, bold, hard words, which might startle them for their hideousness, as if he would say, this is what your acts mean to me. He expects the worm and the decay which lay under the whited exterior. And table, i.e. altar. The altar, this is the table that is before Yahuwah. So they're making some points about the translations, about polluted bread versus despise my name. Let's see what Barnes says. Offering polluted bread upon mine altar, this continuing on the words despisers of my name. So, I mean, if we think about this today, that this is being equated, offering polluted bread upon his altar, continuing on the words despisers of my name, is the answer to their question, wherein have we despised your name? Bread might stand in itself either for the showbread, he's saying, or for the mincha, meal offering, which was the necessary accompaniment of sacrifices and sometimes the whole. But here the polluted bread cannot be the showbread, since this was not put upon the altar, but upon its own table. And although the altar is, as here, also called a table, in regard to the sacrifice hereon consumed, the table of the showbread is nowhere called altar. The prophet then means by bread either the meal offering, as representing the sacrifice, or the offerings by fire altogether. When you offer my bread, the fat and the blood, and in Leviticus, the offerings of Yahuwah made by fire, the bread of their Elohim do they offer. The bread of their Elohim do they offer. And of the peace offering, Leviticus 3:11, the priest shall burn it upon the altar, the bread of the offering made by fire unto Yahuwah, and specifically of animals with blemish, as of these, it is forbidden. So he's not just complaining about what they are sacrificing, but that it's forbidden. Neither from a stranger's hand shall you offer the bread of your Elohim of any of these, because their corruption is in them, blemishes in them. They shall not be accepted for you. It was, as it were, a feast of Elohim with man. And what was withdrawn from the use of man by fire was, as it were, consumed by Elohim, to whom it was offered. It says it was polluted in that it was contrary to the law of Elohim, which forbade the sacrifice to sacrifice any animal, lame or blind, or with any ill blemish, as being inconsistent with the typical perfection of the sacrifice. Even the Gentiles were careful about the perfection of their sacrifices. Blind is the sacrifice of the soul, which is not illumined by the light of Mashiach. Lame is his sacrifice of prayer, who comes with a double mind to entreat Yahuwah. He offers one weak, whose heart is not established in the favor of Elohim, nor by the anchor of expectation fixed in Mashiach. These words are also uttered against those who, being rich, offer to the Creator the cheaper and least things and give small alms. So it says, and you say, wherewith have we polluted you? It is a bold expression, yet a word to which we are but too ill accustomed, which expresses what must have done. Dishonor Elohim comes to the same. Though less bold in expression, they are yet like in meaning. In Ezekiel 13:19, will you pollute me any more among my people? Or in these scriptures in Ezekiel 20, that my name should not be polluted before the pagan. My Kadesh name, or be Kadosh, my Kadosh name shall Yasharel no more defile. I will not let them pollute my name any more, much more in the new law, in which the sacrifice is Mashiach himself, our Elohim. Whence the apostle says expressly in 1 Corinthians 11:27, whoso eats this bread and drinks this cup of the Adon unworthily shall be guilty of the body and blood of the Adon. For when the sacraments are violated, himself whose sacraments they are is violated. Elohim speaks of our acts with an unveiled plainness which we should not dare to use. As we are said to sanctify Elohim when we minister to him in kadeshness and righteousness, and so as far as in us lies, show that he is kadosh, so we are said to pollute him when we conduct ourselves irreverently and viciously before him, especially in his worship, and thereby, as far as in us lies, show that he is not kadosh and is to be honored. So it says, in that you say the table of the Adon is contemptible, literally contemptible it is. And so any contemptible thing might be offered on it. They said this probably not in words, but in deeds. Or if in words, in plausible words, Elohim does not require the ornamenting of the altar, but the devotion of the offerers. Interesting, interesting. That sort of sounds like we don't have to keep the Torah. What Tob is it if we offer the best, but we offer, be what we offer, what it may, it is all to be consumed by fire. The pretext at once of avarice and gluttony, and so they kept the best for themselves. They were poor on their return from the captivity. What a statement. They were poor on their return from the captivity. Anyhow, the sacrifices were offered. What could it matter to Elohim? And so they dispensed with Elohim's law. So at this day, we see some priests and prelates, splendid in their tables and feasts, sorted in the altar and temple. On the table are costly napkins and wine. On the altar, torn linen and wine mace rather than wine. We pollute the bread that is the body of Mashiach when we approach the altar unworthily, and being defiled, drink that pure blood, and say the table of the Adon is contemptible. Not that anyone dares to say this, but the deeds of sinners pour contempt on the table of Elohim. All right, I'm going to move on from there. Back to Malachi 1. So he talks about my name is great among nations, and in every place is presented to my name, and a clean offering, for my name is great among nations. That's what the Creator says in his word. His name is great among nations, and then you'll have people that will reject his name. It's opposite, counterintuitive to what his word says. Likely even in King James, it says, my name is great among nations. I mean, we could even go look. Verse 11. Look for King Jimmy. Look, somebody sounds like they're filing or something. Is this the King James?
Sounded like maracas.
Yeah, that too.
Sorry, that was me.
Well, we're used to your rooster, but we weren't ready for the maracas.
What are you
could've
doing
been.
over there, sister?
Sounds great.
Sorry about that.
It's a party. Far from the rising of the sun, even unto the going down of the same, my name shall be great among the Gentiles. It even tells us that in the King James. And in every place incense shall be offered unto my name, and a pure offering, for my name shall be great among the heathen. Said, and every time you see this capital L-O-R-D, they have taken out the name of Yahuwah, and they replaced it with capital L-O-R-D. Out of consideration, it says in the King James forward, for the tradition of the Jews to not speak his name. But that's what really goes here is Yod-Heh, Wah-Heh, Yahuwah. And that's why we read it over here in ISR, Institute for Scriptures Research. He says,
And the Hallelujah scriptures.
and the Hallelujah scriptures. They're so close, you could barely tell them apart. But Hallelujah's got a little bit higher standard. And in terms of one of their standards is they do not want to speak the name of any pagan deity. The only one that I've seen that I believe that they've missed is the deity God Gimel Dalet, which of course is in the King James. But it's supposed to be Elohim or Aloha or Eloah. That's part of that, out of consideration of the tradition of the Jews. We're not gonna say what Yahuwah calls himself. But that's what he calls himself. As well as Zabaoth, we've heard that. When I was growing up in church, we heard Zabaoth. Well, that's this part here. Yahuwah Zabaoth. Not Jehovah. There's no J in Hebrew. There's no J there. That J is a place marker for a Yod. And you brought in plunder and the lame and the sick, thus you have brought in the offering. Accursed. So here's another curse. We talked about the curse on Esau and stuff. Cursed be the deceiver who has a male in his flock and makes a vow, but is slaughtered to Yahuwah what is blemished. So here's somebody that's made a vow to Yahuwah, and then he's slaughtering the blemished instead. For I am a great sovereign, said Yahuwah Zabaoth, and my name is feared among nations. That's what the Creator says. My name is feared among nations. So important to go back to the Hebrews, see what's there, because if the translators decide we're not getting it, we're not getting it unless we go get it. We don't have to accept. It's for us all. It's for us all.
Let's go get it.
Let's go get it. Just claim it. Claim it. And now, O priest, this command is for you. If you do not hear and if you do not take it to heart to give esteem to my name, this is so important for anyone who's not holding onto his name today.
I was just thinking that gives name it and claim it a whole different meaning.
Yeah. Give esteem to his name. This is who the patriarchs, those closest to Adam, those who walked in the Garden of Eden with Yahuwah, those that came along closest in time, they were calling on Yahuwah. The pharaohs were calling on Yahuwah. Even the pharaohs were calling on him. The servant Eleazar in Abraham's home was calling on Yahuwah. These wives were calling on Yahuwah. Eve called on Yahuwah. So he says, if you do not hear and if you do not take it to heart to give esteem to my name, I shall send a curse upon you, and I shall curse your barakot, your blessings. Does anybody need their beer coat to not be cursed? Then call on his name. Give esteem to his name. And indeed, I have cursed them because you do not take it to heart. I think people just aren't hungry enough. They've had so many Veracoat that they have been allowed to have up until this point. But like I said, the person who's in prison, they've got a little bit more desire, a little bit more time to read a Bible, pick up a Bible and read it, memorize a verse, because they have to hold on to it for their life for that day. Do not take it to heart. You do not take it to heart. Indeed, I have cursed them because you do not take it to heart. See, I shall rebuke your seed. Rebuke your seed. Wow. And scatter dung before your faces, the dung of your festivals, and you shall be taken away with it. And you shall know that I have sent this command to you as being my covenant with Louis, aka Levi. He has a covenant with the priest. Said Yahuwah Zabaoth. All right, I'm going to push forward, you guys. We're going to go look at Matthew. Is it Matthew 10? No. Yeah, Matthew 10, 21 to 38. Brother shall deliver up brother to death, and a father his child, and children shall rise up against parents and shall put them to death. And you shall be hated by all for my name's sake. So there's the name again. Shall be hated by all for my name's sake. But he who shall have endured to the end shall be saved. I mean, this is like a famous verse, a famous sentence in the word. He who shall have endured to the end shall be saved. And then when they persecute you in this city, flee to another. Like, this is a commandment. I think about this verse sometimes, that how many people are in a place where if they become persecuted, they will leave. They'll leave whatever they've got and flee to another city. Evidently, he's able to take us from where we just leave. Take us and put us somewhere else and prosper us there. You will have by no means have gone through the city. You're not going to run out of cities of Yasharel. So there are cities of Yasharel today. Before the son of Adam comes, you're not going to run out of those cities. Flee to another, flee to one of the cities of Yasharel. You ever think about the names of cities and what they mean and where those names come from and what is that city's history? I was looking at a place one time, and it was like the airport is named after David, I think. Thought that was really cool. A taught one is not above his teacher, nor a servant above his master. Is enough for the
In the USA, Darla?
No, not in the US.
Sorry. Huh?
It was not in the US.
Oh, okay.
I mean, there may be one. There could be one, but it was another country.
I'm just seeing so much. I posted last night in water cooler that overcoming Abraham. Or sorry, overcoming Babylon, that Abraham guy. He was talking about just all the different places that in the United States, like there's stuff there that goes way back, way before Christopher Columbus, that shows just so much not architecture, but remnants of the fact that the Hebrews were there.
Yeah.
right? Like we know that from the mounds in Ohio and stuff like that, and the artifacts that have been found and everything. But it just kind of hits home more when you see, and then talks about all the different names of the cities and everything. What you were just taught, you'll love that video
Okay. Yeah.
when you get a chance. Watch it. It's very very interesting, and about the times that we're in right now. It's just yeah. There's so much that we just has been hidden from us that Yahuwah is trying to reveal to us now,
I think it's interesting.
if we're willing.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to even think about, well, if I had to leave here because I was persecuted, where am I going? Like, why can't we plan that now? Have an idea. Well, where is a city of, I think there's another place where it calls it a city of David, but anyway, it says cities of Yasharel here. So I could be wrong because I think this was the scripture I was thinking about was in Matthew 10. But just to think about, well, where would I go? He says when they persecute, it's not a suggestion. When they persecute you in this city, flee to another. So where would we go? I mean, I think it's kind of cool to think about. And well, what would we go to if this became under persecution? And there's definitely this sense of he calls us out of our homeland, of our families of origin. That's what they call it. That's what they call it in therapy, families of origin. Coming out of that and depending on him solely. I remember when we were in Jamaica, so many people love, Jesus there, Yeshua, but they would call him Jesus. They haven't had the kind of I think immersion in the name Yeshua that, for instance, North America has. That's a name that probably everybody has heard. But they have so much love in their heart. Probably big on, I mean, I was there shortly for a family vacation a couple years ago. Probably a big church attendance on the weekend kind of thing. I was in Belize. Wow, it's been almost 20 years ago now, but I loved Belize, and there was a huge there was crime there, but there was a huge like church presence, little churches, and I've also been to Grand Cayman and went to church there on our once a week when they met, and I think we were there for 6 hours. It was amazing. It was an amazing experience. I went there a couple of different times, couple different churches. I was there. It's just beautiful. The Jamaican people, the Caribbean people love their hearts, just love their hearts.
Yep, Barbados, all of them. Yeah.
Yeah. It says, do not fear them, for whatever is covered shall be revealed, and whatever is hidden shall be made known. What I say to you in the dark, speak in the light, and what you hear in the ear, proclaim on the housetops. Do not fear those who kill the body, but are unable to kill the being. This is an interesting statement, right? It's like the body is not the being, that the being is something that's not the body. And we all need to hear, even the hairs of our head are all numbered. Wow. That is a lot of love and care and value the Father puts in us. Even the hairs of our head are all numbered. That means every time you lose a few hairs, he's got to readjust the figure. He knows how many we lose because he knows how many are on our head, and they're all numbered. Wow. So do not fear, for you are worth more than many sparrows. And he says, therefore, everyone therefore who shall confess me before men, him I shall also confess before my Father who is in the heavens. But whoever shall deny me before men, him I shall also deny before my Father who is in the heavens. I did not come to bring peace on earth. I did not come to bring peace, but a sword. He says it twice. For I've come to bring division, a man against his father, a daughter against her mother, and a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law, and a man's enemies are those of his own household. Ain't that the truth? He who loves father or mother more than me is not worthy of me, and he who loves son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. And he who does not take up his stake and follow after me, so there's that idea of picking up and leaving, is not worthy of me. He who has found his life shall lose it, and he who that has lost his life for my sake shall find it. So again, this idea of the one who leaves, Jacob left, Abraham left, and Yitzhak stayed right where you will put him. He said, "You stay here. This is where I brought your father out. You stay right here. He who receives you receives me, and he who receives me receives him who sent me. He who receives a prophet in the name of a prophet shall receive a prophet's reward." I'd like to look at the commentary on this verse 41. The prophet's work as a messenger of Elohim, the righteousness of which the living righteous man is the concrete example. The distinction between the two involves the higher inspiration of the prophet as a messenger of Elohim. And perhaps implies that that inspiration belonged to some and not to all the 12, while those who were not to receive that special gift were at all events called to set forth the pattern of a righteous life. The reward and the time of its being received belong to the future esteem of the reign. And the words, so the reward and the time of its being received belong to the future esteem of the reign. And the words of the promise throw the gate wide open so as to admit not only those whose gifts and characters command the admiration of mankind, but all those who show in action that they are in sympathy with the work for which the gifts have been bestowed. That's really cool. Like you can apply that to yourself just by being in the heart of the work of Yahuwah. You don't have to have special skills. You're just in sympathy with the work that Yahuwah is doing on this earth. And we all see ministries that serve the Father. And not only ministries, but those that are involved in those ministries. We're all doing our little parts here. None of us are big. Cambridge says, in the name of means for the sake of, out of regard to the prophet's character. A prophet's reward, such reward as a prophet or preacher of the Besora that it has, righteous, those who fulfill the requirements of the believer's law, true members of the believer's assembly, the Kadesh ones. Bengal's Noman says, a prophet is one who speaks, a righteous man, one who acts in the name of Elohim, and is distinguished for his remarkable righteousness. Higher reward, for he shows himself as obedient to Elohim. So that's what was happening with Abraham, Yitzhak, and Jacob. They were showing themselves as obedient. Jacob obeyed his mother. He obeyed his father. When his father said, you're going to Padan Aram. They show themselves as obedient. Obedient to Elohim as if he were a prophet himself. So the man shows himself as obedient to Elohim as if he were a prophet himself. It may be asked how he who is not righteous himself can receive a righteous man as a righteous man. The reply is easy. Such a man by the very act abandons his evil way and ceases to be the enemy of righteousness when he treats a righteous man as a righteous man. That's interesting. That's an interesting concept, don't you think? He's
Yep.
receiving a righteous man as righteous. Pulpit commentary. He that receives a righteous man, i.e., one who is punctilious in performing all the details of the revealed will of Elohim. This word also is used in a quasi-Jewish sense and points back to the time when Jewish Christians performed not only the law as expounded in the Sermon on the Mount, but also those external rites and observances which had been commanded them as Jews. Among such Jewish Christians, some would be especially noticeable for their regard to these things, such as James the Just or Righteous, and it is to one of these that the epithet here refers. It's a very long commentary here. Let's read Matthew Henry and we'll move on. Our Adon warned his disciples to prepare for persecution. They were to avoid all things which gave advantage to their enemies, all meddling with worldly or political concerns, all appearance of evil or selfishness, and all underhand measures. Mashiach foretold troubles, not only that the troubles might not be a surprise, but that they might confirm their faith. Let's see if I can make this a little bigger. So I can control this screen. He tells us what they should suffer and from whom. Thus, Mashiach has dealt fairly and we're going to say trustworthily with us, in telling us the worst we can meet within his service, and he would have us deal so with ourselves, in sitting down and counting the cost. Persecutors are worse than beasts in that they prey upon those of their own kind. I hear that. The strongest bonds of love and duty have often been broken through from enmity against Mashiach. Sufferings from friends and relations are very grievous. Nothing cuts more. It appears plainly that all who live righteously in Mashiach Yahushua must suffer persecution, and we must expect to enter into the reign of Elohim through many tribulations. With these predictions of trouble are counsels and comforts for a time of trial. The disciples of Mashiach are hated and persecuted as serpents, and their ruin is sought, and they need the serpent's wisdom. But be ye harmless as doves. Not only let me see if I got this right. Not only do nobody any hurt, but bear nobody any ill will. Prudent care there must be, but not an anxious, perplexing thought. Let this care be cast upon Elohim. The disciples of Mashiach must think more how to do well than how to speak well. Wow, that's lovely. In case of great peril, the disciples of Mashiach may go out of the way of danger, though they must not go out of the way of duty. No sinful, unlawful means may be used to escape, for then it is not a door of Elohim's opening. All right, no sinful, unlawful means may be used to escape, for then it is not a door of Elohim's opening. That would be unlike where Abraham was called out from his family and where Jacob had to leave. Those were doors that Yahuwah did open. The fear of man brings a snare, a perplexing snare that disturbs our peace, an entangling snare by which we are drawn into sin, and therefore it must be striven and prayed against. Tribulation, distress, and persecution cannot take away Elohim's love to them or theirs to him. Fear him who is able to destroy both soul and body in hell. They must deliver their message publicly, for all are deeply concerned in the doctrine of the Besorah. The whole counsel of Elohim must be made known. Mashiach shows them why they should be of Tob cheer, their sufferings witnessed against those who oppose his Besorah. When Elohim calls us to speak for him, we may depend on him to teach us what to say. That is very, very awesome. A believing prospect of the end of our troubles will be of great use to support us under them. They may be borne to the end, because the sufferers shall be borne up under them. The strength shall be according to the day, and it is great encouragement to those who are doing Mashiach's work that it is a work which shall certainly be done. See how the care of providence extends to all creatures, even to the sparrows. This should silence all the fears of Elohim's people. You are of more value than many sparrows, and the very hairs of your head are all numbered. This denotes the account Elohim takes and keeps of his people. He knows us. It is our duty not only to believe in Mashiach, but to profess that belief in suffering for him when we are called to it, as well as in serving him. That denial of Mashiach only is here meant which is persisted in, and that confession only can have the Baruch recompense here promised, which is the real and constant language of belief and love. Religion is worth everything. All who believe the truth of it will come up to the price and make everything else yield to it. Mashiach will lead us through sufferings to esteem with him. He will lead us through sufferings to esteem with him. Those are best prepared for the life to come that sit most loose to this present life. Again, that idea of being called out, called away from what we know, the comforts of this earth, and willing to leave all that behind and go with Yahuwah. Though the kindness done to Mashiach's disciples be ever so small, yet if there be occasion for it and ability to do no more, it shall be accepted. Mashiach does not say that they deserve a reward, for we cannot merit anything from the hand of Elohim, but they shall receive a reward from the free gift of Elohim. Let us boldly confess Mashiach and show love to him in all things.
Wow. What commentary is that?
That one is Matthew Henry.
I love Matthew Henry.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. And he covers several.
There,
That's the gist of it.
there's a book with all of Matthew Henry's commentaries in it. There was a girl that came and stayed with me and my mom
Wow.
for a bit that had nowhere to go, and she had the Matthew Henry commentary book, and she
Wow.
was going to give it to me. And she's not the first one, but if the enemy has sent a few people to try to bring division between my mother and I, and
Hmm.
it was I could witness it happening, and my mom too, that she was trying to bring division between us, sort of thing. So I asked her to leave, and she got quite offended, and took her Matthew Henry commentary with her. And I'm like, it's one disappointment in my life that I never got that. But I you know what? I'm gonna look for it because I just love his commentary. Like, listen to that. That is just so profound of what we go through in our walk.
It
What
really,
we've talked about for months, even with Terry, talking about like with our families, with friends, with jobs, with everything.
yeah. And we still have Marie and Sherry here with us, just checking on that. What do you guys feel about Romans 9? I'm kind of running out of steam here.
And I have to go.
And you have to go as well. Well, let's just
Yeah.
I mean, we read it, and if anybody wants to study it further, they can do that, on their own or whatever. We're not gonna be able to go into that. We did do some extra reading in Romans 8 as well, per Bonnie's request.
3 hours. We've been at it 3 hours. That's
Exactly,
good.
exactly.
That's
And we need
so-
some time
that's
for
so-
rest now.
Yeah.
All right, you
Yeah.
guys,
We love Yahuwah. We love his word.
we
We
do.
do.
You guys, I pray Yahuwah be with you for your next week, and you guys just get the rest that you need for the rest of the day. And of course, this is the according to the Jewish calendar, their understanding, they're having their high Shabbat today. So, or
Yeah.
I mean, it's basically
Yeah.
over in Israel right now, the land there where Jerusalem is. Yeah. But
And if you get a chance, watch that Overcoming Babylon
Oh yeah.
video. It's pretty good. I
Mm.
like him. He hasn't been
Yeah.
on for a while. He had those really Tobe videos out for a bit there with I can't even remember what it was now, but anyways, love you guys.
Love you,
Shabbat
sister.
shalom.
Love you, sister.
Shalom.
May this video enrich your love in and understanding of our Abba Yahuwah and His Word. Much has been hidden. Together let's seek the restoration of all truth. A Light Unto the Gentiles channel invites you to join the Hebrew Restoration and Code Searching team. Please email us at alightuntothe@gmail.com to let us know of your interest. Looking for fellowship? We invite you to join our Facebook group, Code Searching Hebrews. Love, truth, and revelation are vital in these last days. The Hebrew Restoration and Code Searching Ministries, through A Light Unto the Gentiles, serves Yahuwah and the sheep from our Father's pasture. Please prayerfully consider a monthly donation to Restoration Farms Incorporated. Links are provided for you below in the description.